잘 보내셨나요?
네. 저는 아빠랑 전부 치다가 팔 다 빠지는 줄 알았어요. 네, 떡 좀 드세요.
아니 전부 치셨다더니 왜 떡을 가져오셨어요?
그러니까 너무 힘들어서 내가 다 먹었어요, 저는.
아니 근데 왜 엄마가 아니고 아빠랑 저는 붙이셨어요?
아, 이제 아빠 퇴직하시고 나서 전담당은 명절마다 이제 아빠한테도 넘어왔어요.
하긴 요즘 뒷집마다 이야기 들어보면은 그 명절 스트레스 있잖아요. 그게 꼭 주부만의 이야기는 아닌 것 같던데.
그런 의미에서 이번 주 게스트는 그런 가족적인 이야기를 아주 사심탄회하게 나눌 수 있는 분을 모신 것 같아요. 국회 여성가족위원회 길정우 의원이시죠?
길정우 의원은 소통수죠.
네, 근데 정치계로 오시기 전에 외교관, 언론인, 기업인까지 다양한 일을 하셨어요.
근데 정치인으로서는 이렇게 다양한 이력을 갖는 거는 분명 큰 메리트일 것 같아요. 그리고 특히 여성과 문화 분야에서 활발한 활동을 계시는데 특별한 이유가 있을까요?
프로필 조사해보니까 부인께서 한국여성인권진흥원 이사장이더라고요. 혹시 부인의 영향을 받아서 그런 거 아닐까요? 또 언론인 시절엔 여성 잡지 발행의 경력도 있으세요.
근데 이제 보통 보면은 지금까지 의정활동 중에서 법안을 한 16개 정도 내셨는데 다 여성과 문화 분야예요. 그래서 구체적으로 어떤 쪽으로 어떤 방향의 스타일로 법안을 내셨는지도 궁금하고 이게 진짜 이제 여자 입장에서는 여자의 마음을 잘 이해한 내용일까 이런 것도 좀 궁금해요.
그러게요. 오늘 확인해 봐야 되겠네요.
다보스 포럼에 우리나라 대표로 참석도 하시고 또 영어도 유창하시고 여기서 살았었나요?
아니요. 대학교 때 유학 다녀오셨고 해외 특방 활동을 많이 하셨어요.
근데 언론인으로 계셨을 때 정치계에 쓴소리 많이 하신 걸로 좀 유명하시잖아요. 근데 또 본인이 정치계에 입문을 하셨는데 어떻게 신경번화가 좀 있으시지 않으셨을까? 좀 민감한가요, 요즘은?
아니 근데 뭐 제가 만나본 바로는 좀 되게 허심탄회하게 말씀하시는 스타일이라서 웬만한 이야기는 뭐 굉장히 자연스럽게 다 하실 것 같아요.
그리고 ERP도 빠뜨리면 안 될 것 같아요. 국제방송법 개정 때문에도 열심히 뛰고 계시잖아요.
그 해외 활동을 많이 하시면서 그 국제방송의 필요성에 대해 몸소 실감하셨다고 하더라고요.
그 아리랑TV가 나아가야 될 방향성에 대해서도 좀 여쭤보면 좋을 것 같은데.
그래서 왠지 사랑방에서 도란도란 이야기 나누는 것처럼 아주 편안한 시간이 될 것 같아요. 키워드 한번 정리해 볼게요. 3가지 정도면 되겠죠?
Hello everyone, hope you had a great Lunar New Year holiday. Although some of the women might have been a little stressed out by the extra housework and by husbands who are not always so helpful at home. But our guest on Heart to Heart today is a man who works to understand women, Representative Gil Jeong-woo of the National Assembly's Committee on Gender Equality and Family. Dr. Gil, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Nice to meeting you.
Nice to meet you too. I know that last year was your first term elected as a representative of the National Assembly. How would you rate your first year?
Well, I think B+. Well, actually, since I started working as a member of the National Assembly, exactly 18 months has passed. Well, this is totally new career and job to me.
Right.
But I should define the politician's daily life is no one can easily imagine. So totally occupied. But unfortunately, I have to confess this is very unproductive, very inefficient body.
Why is that?
But on the other hand, if the politician is a job, an occupation, if I really want to do something, I can make it. So meaning is have some power, some influence.
Of course.
So the part of enjoying myself, part of very depressing.
So it must have been a great learning experience the past 18 months. And like you said, this is your first term as a lawmaker, and you had quite a varied career until now. You were a diplomat, also a journalist, also a publisher, I see. Was there one job in the past that you think, looking back now, that best suited you, or did you think, this was my true
Well,
calling?
if I choose one, I think I should say there's a diplomatic career.
That was your first job, was it?
Yeah, because that is the first job,
Right.
And especially the job in Washington D.C. of the United States. I studied political science and international politics in my graduate school, but working in kind of in practical life of diplomacy, it's a very exciting experience as a political scientist.
Right.
So this is very meaningful, and I really learned a lot. Especially that is the years I'm early 30s. Year of age, so
Right.
this is very active and dynamic.
And you were in the center of it, the epicenter in Washington,
Yes.
D.C. And yet you gave up that career as a diplomat after just, was it 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years in Washington D.C. Yes.
Why?
Well, actually, I was scouted by Foreign Ministry for special assignment. I was working on U.S. Congress, solely U.S. Congress for 5 years, around the time of U.S. and Korea trade friction. So my government have recognized the source of the conflict and friction comes out of the members of U.S. Congress. So my job is public relations, meeting with members of U.S. Congress, meeting with lawyers, consultant, and in some sense there is a lobbying activities. This is very dynamic,
Must have been very challenging as
very
well.
challenging as well.
And then after that, of course, you also had quite a long stint as a journalist, during which time you leveled some pointed criticism at politicians. But now, of course, that you've been a politician for the past 18 months, has your perspective changed? Do you think you were a little too harsh on politicians?
Well, actually, not much change. Actually, I have been working for the journalism 15 years, the longest period of my time in my career. But among 15 years, I've been away as a diplomatic correspondent to Washington and Tokyo. But in my column, I, time to time, really criticized what my government has been doing, especially domestic politics. That is, at that time, to my judgment, that was almost hopeless. Well, my view slightly changed after I joined the politics, but not much. As I mentioned earlier, the politics, real politics, is very unproductive, very inefficient. So even as a journalistic point of view from the outside of politics, a lot more to do, a long way to go for the Korean politicians to fulfill their own goal, objective, as well as countries' or society's objective. So not much change, but I really want to keep, at the times, my previous kind of perspective or position to watch the politics with a more objective point of view.
So what inspired to actually jump into politics then? And once you're in it, I'm not sure how easy it is to maintain that really objective view or perspective.
Well, up until 2 years ago, when I had a call from my political party asking whether I was willing to join the real politics. Before then, I have never seriously thought about to jumping in real politics myself. But my wife has been politician, 80 years ahead of me. I have been advising her in doing politics. At the time, I was a journalist. Later, I was an entrepreneur. But probably that experience, as an advising role to politicians, might give me some ideas. What that is real politics if I were in that shoes, what I'm supposed to do. So that is I began to realize what is the public service means. So probably that is the beginning of my seriously thinking about real politics.
So you encountered no, I guess, opposition at home. Usually when someone wants to enter politics, they have to fight some opposition at home. The wife or the family will say, no, don't go into politics. But in this case, it was different, I guess?
Well, actually, since I joined the politics myself, my wife we changed our role. So the position, my wife is very critical to what
It's
I'm
her
doing,
time
what
now.
I'm saying. So I'm paying my price.
That's great. Let's talk about your wife and politics a little bit later on. But I want to go on to the 태극기 movement that you
Yes.
started, of course. That is to raise the Korean flag everywhere. Now, it started in Dokdo and it caused quite a stir. Could you tell us a little bit more about this movement?
That is the 태극기 movement. I'm really proud of. Even before I joined politics, I wrote a couple of times in my blog. So around that time, the Japanese government has been officially claiming that Dokdo is a part of their territory.
When was this?
That is, I think, 3-4 years ago. Time to time, Japanese government had been challenging and claiming.
Yes.
But my government, the response to that was not that effective. So I realized that is not the government kind of issues. We can raise that issues by mobilizing youngsters, students, a kind of participation to understand the Dokdo and let them equipped it with some argument with historical documents and as well as the experience to visit the Dokdo Island. So I've been happy to realize that the two national flags are raised in Dokdo Island. There's a very strong wind, so they should change the national flag almost every week. This is very windy. So that reminded me, let our students make money. This is 50,000 won per piece. This is not a big money. So, and voluntarily donate national flag to Dokdo Island and raise that 태극기 in Dokdo Island and get it back and put it in the school. So that is touching the patriotism of the students and let our young students to realize and thinking about the Dokdo Island.
Right.
That was a very youngsters, public kind of movement.
And did it catch on right away? Did you find that youngsters were very willing to take part right away?
No, actually, surprisingly, that the chairman of Human High School, he contacted me and showed that his interest in that idea. And we had a talk, we had a meeting, and in a week, he just put together 10 students, student leaders of Human High School, and a couple of teachers, let them visit Dokdo Island. So after that, he sent me a photo taken in Dokdo Island. In a couple of months, that kind of get it back the 태극기 and put it in the building. He showed me a couple of the photos that was really touching.
That's amazing.
That was really meaningful.
So do you know how many schools have the 태극기 now in their building?
I have not checked myself, but I think this is ongoing, and hopefully that many other students or kind of schools have the interest.
Right.
This is not a big job, actually. A lot of students and even travelers are visiting Dokdo Island recent days.
I mean, it's one thing to learn about it in your textbooks or read about it in papers, but it's another to actually go to Dokdo, visit it, and raise the national flag there.
That's
I think you learn something
Well, I
different
hope
from
Ari랑Tv is promoting that idea.
I'm sure we are. Well, the 태극기 movement is still going strong, of course, and it's even taking place in the National Assembly. Let's take a look now. We visited the offices of the Speaker of the National Assembly in January. This is where the Korean National Assembly's 태극기 raising relay ceremony was held. Every 2 weeks since 2011, the flag has been passed on to elementary, middle, and high schools throughout the country.
이 태극기는 우리나라의 상징이고 또 우리나라의 표상이고 애국심의 시작입니다. 그래서 여러분들 아마 초등학교 학생 여러분들께서는 국회 개항의 태극기를 가지셨으니까 나라를 사랑하고 나라를 생각하는 마음 깊이 가져주십사 하는 뜻에서 이렇게 태극기입니다.
The National Assembly's 태극기 raising relay ceremony began 2 years ago when Dr. Gil's proposal was adopted. Today is the first time students from his district are coming to the National Assembly to receive the flag.
우선 국회에 와서 구경하는 것도 사실 처음인 학생들이 대부분이고 게다가 국회에 개항됐던 큰 대형 태극기를 자기 학교로 가져갈 수 있다는 그 영광을 누리는 것도 처음 경험하는 영광스러운 순간이기 때문에 애들이 긴장할 수밖에 없죠. 하지만 두고두고 오늘의 이 기억, 추억은 아마 앞으로 나라를 사랑하는 마음에 큰 북돋는데 큰 도움이 되지 않을까 그렇게 생각합니다.
The 태극기 represents our whole nation's wishes for a creative and prosperous future. It's important that students who will lead the future of Korea feel love and pride when they see the flag.
태극기를 우리 학교에 담음으로써 학생들이 더 정치에 관한 관심을 갖고 나라를 위해 힘쓸 그런 꿈을 가질 것 같고
저희 서울양화초등학교와 학교 대표로 맡게 돼서 정말 영광이었고 또 의장님도 보고 의원님도 보라서 정말 즐겁고 행복한 시간이었던 것 같습니다.
The 태극기 movement seems to have a lot of meaning and really raise the level of patriotism among people. Do you have plans to continue forward until
Surely,
the long
if I
in the
can, I
future?
will keep continuing.
Yeah.
And I really hope that more schools, more public organizations, even companies are trying to follow the spirit. I want to emphasize the spirit. We can get it from their participation, especially for youngsters. Their participation, they are beginning to realize what it means, 태극기 movement, what it means to them. That is thinking about country, thinking of our own community. We call it patriotism. But I think, I hope that even youngsters are beginning to think about it.
Well, I get a sense, just even now talking to you for these few minutes, that you've been working very hard over the past 18 months. And in fact, you were recognized by the Gender Equality and Family Committee for your hard work. You submitted 16 laws to the National Assembly, and all of them were related to women or culture. Is there a reason that you're focusing on women or culture?
Oh, actually, there is, I think, I cannot find any specific reason. But at the last 3 years of my journalistic career, I have been working as a publisher and CEO of a magazine publishing company. So that publishing company has been publishing 7 different women magazines.
Oh.
And we published several books on culture and women. Around that time, I had a chance to meet with many professional women and the people who had been working on the culture and art. So that was very kind of fruitful experience to me and something very new. So my that time experience gave me some insights, a lot of issues I can raise on women issues and cultural issues. So probably that's why after I joined the politics, first thing first, women and culture.
When talking to these and meeting with these female leaders in various sectors of society, did you get a sense that despite all the advances that Korea has made over the past decades, we still have a long way to go when it comes to gender equality? What are some of the main problems that women face?
We could not find any systematic kind of structure for women to keep the balance between work and life, or work and home.
Right.
It's a long way to go. But I think more importantly, we should change our mindset. Think about it. We have a Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. That ministry is taking care of women and youngsters. Almost 80% of the whole population. But that kind of ministries of women, gender equality and family, human resources and budget-wise, this is really minor ministry. The annual budget is exactly the same of my own district. Cannot imagine. Even from the top to the bottom, we don't have any serious thinking, mind on what women means to us, what family means to us. Not now, but in the future, the family value and women trait, competitiveness of women, what it means to the future of Korea. We should seriously think about it.
I remember hearing Eric Schmidt, the head
Yes.
of Google, saying just last year, he said that Asia is the new area that we have to be aware of. That's the competition. And then he said, but Asia, we have one advantage.
Yes.
Asia still discriminates against 50% of its population, meaning women, of course.
That's right.
Is that a major disadvantage to us?
Well, actually, that is, he might say that it's an advantage, but I think that might be a potential we can develop. So we have more interest, we pay more attention to the women's potential and capabilities, more room we can develop. So I think that is not, currently that you can say disadvantage, but that might be a very big potential, especially for Korea to go ahead.
But there are also some people who say, with all these measures that are being made to accommodate women, hey, they're outperforming the men in schools, they're getting into more workplaces. What about men? Maybe this is gender equality that's not fair to men. What do you say to those?
Well,
charges?
I think that is, I would better introduce a couple of reports and analysis by internationally well-known consulting company, McKinsey & Company and Catalyst. They recently released an analysis of Fortune 500 big companies. The more women in their board of trustees, more competitive and more productive, and the less corrupt. There is an evidence. So the more women are participating in the higher level of any structure, any company or institutions, that organization is getting more productive and less corrupt. That is a fact. We would better respect the kind of data and apply to Korean companies. As you know, there are recently a lot of public companies, government-funded companies. They are less productive, more corrupt. So I think replace the men, seniors, members of board of trustees by women.
Wow.
Just to try it. Then they will realize in a couple of years they're getting less corrupt and more productive.
What about in politics? The committee that you serve on, gender
point.
equality
Good
and
point.
family,
I'm
4 men and 12 women, right? How's that going?
Well, I think this is very, very unfair. Only 3 men members of a 16 members committee. But the problem is, as I mentioned earlier about the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family, this is a very minor ministry among 18, 19 whole ministries. Even in the National Assembly, Committee on Gender Equality and Family, there is a minor committee. There is not a full committee. Meaning is, any member affiliated with the full committee might choose as an additional choice to join the committee member of the Gender Equality and Family. From the beginning, that's unfair.
It is.
That exactly reflects how we ignore the value of gender equality and families. We should change it.
I agree. But I want to also ask, how efficient does the committee work with so many women as opposed to male members?
No comment.
As you mentioned.
No comment. I think this is still working very smoothly.
Okay, well, the first gender-related law that passed was a revision to the Single Parent Family Support Act. Could you tell me what kind of problems or issues that the government was trying to resolve through this act?
Well, I think I would better inform you that 1 of 10 families in Korea is a single family member.
1 in 10?
Single parent family.
That's a lot more than
That's
I
a lot,
thought.
yes. So my law, that's the revision of the existing law, is let mostly financial organization or public companies not to discriminate a single parent family. For the bank, for bank loan, usually they raise the high rate, the bank loan. That's unfair. Make the law not to discriminate in the kind of financial kind of treatment and in the employment. They should not discriminate single parent.
Whether that's male or female single parent.
That's right. Long way to go.
Long way to go. Many things, but we
Many
take it
things.
one step at
Yes.
a time, right? You mentioned before that your wife actually preceded you in entering politics. She was in politics for 8 years. So, and you were also influenced by her in your decision to enter politics. So now my question is, I wonder what the atmosphere is like at home. Do you talk about politics a lot? Is your wife the one who wears the sort of the pants around the house, or how is the politics at home?
Well,
if you don't mind
at
my
home or in our professional life, she has been politician, but she is a medical doctor and college professor.
asking? Okay.
So-called she's professional woman. I'm professional politician. She has been and is and will be the boss between ourselves. That's done deal.
Okay.
But we have been very interesting kind of habit when we talk wherever, at home and outside. We just put it out our memo book and write down each other. Some getting ideas from our by the other half.
Wow.
So we have been very good at having
team.
an intellectual dialogue.
Very
So
good
on
teamwork too.
diverse issues, not only politics, kind of social welfare, medical issues, labor issues, tourism, on every issues we exchange views as much as possible. We are keeping very intellectual dialogue.
And that's good for the entire family, I'm sure, and for your constituencies as well, because you get good ideas from her. I wonder, but that's not a very typical Korean household, I would imagine. Was this relationship like that from the very beginning, or is it something that evolved? Does it reflect the changing times?
Well, actually, to my memory is correct, from the beginning, we have met each other in a kind of professional kind of discussion, study group. So we are very good at writing each other, the memo each other, exchange views. So I think that is very interesting. I really want to strongly recommend to our audience, try it. Kind of exchange a dialogue between each other, husband and wife, and write down some memo, keep the record, something good or something bad, and write down some insight, trying to have some insight, getting insight from the other part.
Even if the two lead completely different lives, in your case, both of you are professionals, but if the woman is a stay-at-home mom, a housewife, and the father or the husband is a professional, or maybe the role is reversed, even when they have little in common, do you think that's possible?
Probably I'm not in a good position to answer that because my wife and I have been all-time professional. Both of us has each their professional life.
Right.
So that might not a good example to really full-time housewife. But in my constituency, my goal, real goal is pulling potential Korean household wife getting out of the apartment, out of home, to work for the public service, public goods, something good for the others.
Right.
So this is my goal and it's working, even slowly. So let them enjoy themselves. Let them recognize their own identity, their potential, possibility.
And they do have a lot of potential, don't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Very
That's
smart
correct,
and driven.
yes.
Right. Well, let's talk about some of the other issues that you're addressing as part of the National Assembly. You're also on a subcommittee that addresses the sexual slavery,
Sorry, by
also
the Japanese
euphemistically
military.
called comfort women, of course. And you also have an in-depth understanding of the sometimes complicated diplomatic relations between Korea and Japan. Things are almost at an all-time low, they say, in our bilateral relations. What is your take on the whole situation? And with Comfort Women and Tokdo, what is your take on this?
June last year, I was appointed as a subcommittee chairman. Probably because of my background. I've been living in Japan, even shortly. I've been working on Korea-Japan relations many years. And as a member of Gender Equality and Family, probably they might think I might be the suitable person. But after taking the subcommittee chairmanship, I realized myself, this is really urgent issues. We are just fighting against time. As you might agree that the sexual slavery by the Japanese military, regardless of that is done in wartime or not, that's a crime against humanity. there is no time limit issues. We have last year the two women passed away. This is fight against time. So I really put together our position, three positions. One is Japanese government should accept their legal responsibility. They officially apologize before our living the victims, and also compensation. But we can just put together our position clear. And I tossed that issue to Japanese counterpart. They know it, but officially cannot accept it. So I think that's a very frustrating experience of myself. But only way is to meeting people, my counterpart or Japanese Diet members, and the members of newly made NSC under Abe administration, meeting their kind of cabinet ministers, explain them. So the point I'm arguing to them is, this is open-ended question. There's no time limit. Crime against humanity. In overseas, in international forum, raise that issues, you always feel kind of frustrating, feel kind of challenges, kind of criticism by the international community. You would better accept it to a certain level of our request. So I think this is not easy, but I thinking there is a way out. I think we should make it.
Do you think that maybe with a change in the administration, maybe the next administration in Japan, we could see a difference in their attitude as well? Or is this something where really it will take a long time? Like you say, there's no time limit on it. And
I think there is nothing much to do with the change of administration in Japan. Even in the current Japanese administration and members of Diet, many people accept and realize, understand our position is. Mostly they agreed of them. So that mostly depends on officially accept it and don't make it a sudden kind of surprise remarks. That really making us crazy, really disappointed.
Inflames us, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So this kind of the political move, that is our main concern. Unexpected move by some politicians in the Japanese Diet.
Right. And meanwhile, of course, time is running out for the few remaining comfort women who are still alive and with us. We went to visit them with Dr. Gil.
The sharing house is a resting place for the surviving victims of Japan's comfort woman practice.
90년대 초에 그 세상에 알려지면서 정말 오갈 데가 없는 피해자분들이었거든요. 할머니들한테는 절대적인 그 지지를 해주는 또 할머니가 아주 포근한 보금자리다 이렇게 한마디로 얘기할 수 있죠.
During the holiday season in 2013, members of the National Assembly's Subcommittee on the Comfort Woman issue visited the sharing house. As the vice chairman of the subcommittee, Dr. Gil feels a great deal of responsibility and sense of purpose.
이분들은 정부가 나서서 또 우리 정치인들이 나서서 일본으로부터 공식적인 사과를 받고 배상을 받고 하는 그러한 염원을 갖고 살고 계시는데 일본은 움직이질 않잖아요. 그래서 저희부터라도 이분들에게 희망을 드려야 되겠다. 그런 희망을 드리기 위해서 왔습니다.
The subcommittee on the comfort woman issue was formed in June 2013. Its members review historical sources related to comfort women and discuss the appropriate plan of action. There are currently 56 survivors of the comfort woman practice. 10 of them live in the sharing house. Members of the subcommittee believe the most important thing is to actually talk to and listen to the women.
이제 말로만 했던 때는 지났다. 우리들이 이제 정부 물론이지만 우리 국회 차원에서도 좀 일본의 정치인들을 상대로 또 일본의 지식인들을 상대로 우리 할머니들이 무엇을 원하는지, 우리 국민들이 무엇을 원하는지를 분명하게 전달할 필요가 있다.
The average age of the surviving women is 80. We hope for a day when they can smile in peace.
Dr. Gil, I know that you're also working on the issue of registering haenyeo, or the female divers of Jeju-do, on UNESCO's cultural heritage list. How did you get involved in this issue, and how is it going?
This is a very fascinating experience of myself. So a couple of years ago, a close friend of mine, professional photographer named Jun Choi, in Korean name is Choi Myung-jun, he showed me several photos he's taken in Udo. Udo is a small island, the east side of Jeju, Jeju Island. So he worked with haenyeo and took a lot of photos. He's still working. That images really touched me. That gave me a lot of thought. That is image of not only of a woman, that is not only as an image of the families. So that reminded me that is a Korean women's DNA, the symbol of Korean women's DNA. Very proactive, aggressive, responsible, of taking care of whole families.
Resilient.
Yeah, very resilient. So I think that is Korean women's DNA. I would better having more attention to them. And for the last couple of years, I've been working on that issues. I had a hearing at the National Assembly, inviting haenyeo and some other professors on it. And I began to think, well, why not? There's a register to cultural heritage under UNESCO. And luckily enough, before the end of last year, government has decided that put our Jeju haenyeo culture as officially registered by the Korean government to UNESCO. So we had a kind of time schedule. Before the end of March, we should apply to the UNESCO headquarters. And after reviewing, at the end of this year, they will decide the cultural heritage of 2015.
If you don't mind my asking, what is the significance of putting it on the list? I mean, haenyeo are very much still alive. I know that their numbers are dwindling, but what was the purpose of doing this?
A very good question. Simply registering the UNESCO cultural heritage is only symbolic. Getting registered, our home government or local government of Jeju Island, they should put together, suggest detailed policies and measures how to keep those cultural heritage and to support and maintain the current level. So currently, Jeju haenyeo is slightly over 4,000. At the time, in the previous years, there is more than 30,000.
Wow.
There is now currently slightly over 4,000.
Almost one
This is hard. This is a really hard job. This is not easy occupation. So nobody wants to inherit their kind of occupation to their sister, their kind of daughters and sisters.
Well, good luck with that, and I hope there's some good news from
I
that
need
soon.
some luck. Yes.
Now, culture, of course, is a key word for you, and related to culture, I think, is the Mecenat law that it was passed in the plenary session at the end of last year. Could you also explain a little bit about this?
That is another fascinating story, experience of myself. Mecenat law is the law to define a kind of companies or institutions or organizations to support cultural and artistic activities. And this is a new law. That's making a new law. New law and revising the law is big difference. 9 out of 10 laws enacted, is revised law, that touching some phrases, some revise some sentences, add some words, but relatively much easier. But making a new law, we need a lot of processes. We should have some public hearing to absorb many different diverse views and a lot of kind of debate. This is a new law. So luckily enough, I could make it done at the end of the last year. But that is the beginning. The groundwork to government has it defines, recognize, identifies some companies, organizations to support cultural activities of the young artists. And then they can be those identified companies might take advantage of tax benefit. Another new law should be revised, really giving a concrete measures of tax benefit. That is a kind of essence of the law. But I think this is a real beginning because supporting cultural activities, that is supporting young artists. This is the most important part.
Why is culture so important, though? Why are you pushing culture and the growing or the supporting of young artists? Why is that so important to you and to Korea?
As you know, that the Korea is whole economy, scale of economy by statistics is 11th largest, 12th largest in the whole world. But happiness level of the general public probably lower,
Yes.
probably lowest among OECD member countries. What we should do, what we should get out of those economic affluence to the more happier life of ordinary people, the culture. Invest more money to cultural activities, supporting young artists. I think I'm pretty assured that that kind of investment to the culture and supporting young artists might improve our level of happiness. The simple reason we pay attention on the culture and invest for ourselves, for our happiness. I think probably that's why my new president Park Geun-hye has put it the prosperous culture, prosperity of culture, might the one of her just the main goal in her tenure.
So not just all work and no play, some play as well, so that we can enjoy
Yes.
the fruits of our work. Now, I wonder also if 아리랑TV can play a part in spreading culture, not only within Korea, of course, but beyond our borders as well. And I know that you've been involved with 아리랑TV quite actively because of your familiarity with broadcasting as well. What is your thoughts on the role of 아리랑TV and other sort of international broadcasters?
Well, 아리랑TV is the most popular TV programs, not only foreigners living in Korea, but foreigners outside of Korea, for them to understand the Korean culture, Korean society, Korean people. So 아리랑TV and international broadcasting is the most precious channel to show us to the world, mostly. In some cases, let our Korean audience to show what's going on outside, what foreigners think about us, view us. So it has two-way traffic, very precious channel. The 아리랑TV and international broadcasting is working.
Do you find that a lot of foreigners still have maybe a narrow vision of what Korea is like? Because what they see on CNN or these international broadcasts is still pretty much dominated by North Korea, a lot of it in North Korea, and some other issues that probably don't reflect the whole picture of what's going on in Korea.
I think that is the part I've been working on, thinking many years. How can we put the more balanced information picture to the foreigners? That is not only a government goal, but also for every citizen who get access, keep contacts with any foreigners. That's our own role. So I think 아리랑TV's content is mixed with cultural soft content and some news and news analysis. Cultural content-wise, Korean pop culture is very popular. They have their own way, capability to promote themselves, not only through 아리랑TV, but also some other channels. But to make foreigners to understand the Korea in a balanced manner, I would better suggest to 아리랑TV to put more content on news and news analysis on Korean domestic politics, Korean economy, daily life of the people and society. Every issue is in Korea is now drawing attention from foreigners. We would be more proactive to promote, to show ourselves as it is.
A
some
balanced
background.
view, right.
With the balanced view, yes.
Right. Well, I'm here with Representative Gil Jeong-woo, and we'll be right back after this.
When I've been working as a diplomat in Washington, I've been solely working with Congress. Every day, they changed the flag. And they send it to their own people. So I got that idea. So our National Assembly has started to kind of distribute the national flag raised in front of our National Assembly building. Every 2 weeks, we change every 2 weeks.
Dr. Gil, when you were elected as a National Assemblyman, you vowed that you would not let politics change you. 18 months have passed. Do you think that politics has changed you?
Well, I think at the moment I have not changed a lot. I am, except I don't have my own time. I cannot manage my own schedule. But as a person, as an individual, I haven't changed a lot. So I want to keep the kind of previous, my own shape of thinking. So I'm trying to meet more people I have met with before the joining politics. That's not easy. I'm trying to, inviting my old friends to my office and trying to get engaged.
Why is it not easy? Do they treat you differently?
No. Well, in some sense, yes. But my schedule is pretty tight, pretty occupied. So I should appear what I'm supposed to appear. So very limit of room, I manage my own kind of schedule. But I'm trying to keep my own shape and thinking as it is. Probably that's why I might be some contribution to our whole body of 300 members of National Assembly. So everyone, when join the politics, everyone is changing. Who needs any specific person with a specific mindset? Each person would better represent their background, their philosophy and thinking when we meet each other. But probably I will be changing, but I'm trying to keep myself as it is.
I'm not sure that change is always a negative word. I think they say, I'm not an expert of course, but they say that politics is compromise. So my last question is, how would you like to contribute to society as a member of the National Assembly?
As an individual politician, I want to be remembered a politician with integrity, keeping integrity. I do not want to lose my personality. I want to be respected and remembered as a man of integrity and trying very hard to make a compromise between conflicting views. That might be very ambitious, but I'm Catholic, and when I joined the politics, I promised to my wife, I want to show the people, the politician can be a saint. Too ambitious. But I think I always keep that kind of my promise to my wife. Politician can be a saint.
I will very much look forward to that. That is a wonderful, wonderful goal. And Dr. Gil, we'd like to thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us here on Heart to Heart. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Enjoyed very much. Thank you.
And that was our conversation with Dr. Gil Jeong-woo, member of the National Assembly's Committee on Gender Equality and Family. Thank you so much for joining us here on Heart to Heart. See you next time. Bye-bye.